Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, October 14th Board of Education meeting. The board has been in closed session since 6:30 this evening, talking about negotiations. We have 7 board members present, none absent. So can everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have no blue or yellow cards up here for public comment, but is there anyone here that wants to make a public comment? Hearing none, let's move on to Superintendent's communication. Mr. Purnell.
Yes, want to just briefly discuss a change that we're going to make in the Curriculum and Instruction Department. And while it's a title change, I think it's more significant in the intent of how we view education and teaching and learning in the district. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle, who will explain what we're going to do and why we're going to change the title of the Curriculum and Instruction Department.
Thank you. The Curriculum and Instruction team was working on their goals and their belief statements earlier this year. And we were looking at the KPIs, we were looking at our strategic plan and trying to think through how do we set team goals that would match that. And that got us to discussing a belief statement. And our belief statement at this time is the Curriculum and Instruction team believes all students will learn when appropriate academic environments are created and nurtured. And the single biggest factor impacting the academic environments is the effectiveness of the teaching. And that got us to thinking about who are we as our team and what does the title of the team, Curriculum and Instruction, does it represent what we believe is important in a school district? A lot of school districts are creating their curriculum and instruction teams to be the Office of Teaching and Learning. We engaged in that conversation for a little, and we decided that we'd like to be the Office of Learning and Teaching because we believe the learning of the students, or sometimes learning of our teachers when they're in professional learning, is really what's crucial. And so we would like to bring that forward to you today to be changed from the curriculum of the Department of Curriculum and Instruction to the Department of Learning and Teaching. It would change only my title to Assistant Superintendent of Learning and Teaching. Our coordinators would stay. And I do want to recognize some people that are in the audience today who've been a part of this conversation because it's been a very rich conversation that is focusing completely on our students and not at all on our work or what it's going to do for us, but it's all about the students and supporting that student and teacher relationship that's so crucial. So in the office, we have Charles Sprandel, Connie Chester, Kathy Baker, and Debbie Wright, and Ellen Walsh has been a part of those conversations for our team. So at this point, we wanted to bring that forward and would love to entertain any questions or comments you might have.
Anything? There we are. Margaret.
One question is if you will just repeat the belief statement, because I thought that was powerful.
I sure will. So it will now say the Learning and Teaching team believes all students will learn when appropriate academic environments are created and nurtured. The largest factor impacting the academic environments is the effectiveness of the teaching. We would have that statement with us in anything that we do in the district. And so any professional learning, any meeting, any conversation we have with anybody in our district, we can relate it back to that statement. Why do we do professional learning with our principals? Because we're looking at the academic environment. Why do we do professional learning with our psychs, our social workers, our teachers, our paraprofessionals? When we have conversations with parents, it's all back to that academic environment, and that the single biggest factor impacting that is the effectiveness of the teaching.
I'll throw in one thought. I mean, to the cynical, you would say, all right, this is just a department title change, and what's the big deal? And the reason I wanted you to bring this to the whole board is because I do think it's an idea. I do think it's a big deal. It's a big deal because I think it represents this district's evolution, and I think it is a public statement that shows our taxpayers, our constituency, our students, how serious we are about putting our focus on students and their ability to learn in an environment that's conducive to learning, and how important the teacher is in the front of that classroom. And I think it's a great title change, and I think it's a great philosophical evolution.
So one way you can look at it is curriculum instruction can drive the process, or you can have the classroom and the students, and what do they need, and therefore what does the teacher need in order to teach that student. So it's really going into the classroom and bringing it back. So with that then, it's almost like I don't want to make an assumption, but you really kind of do the job differently. So it's a bottom up, not a top down. Is that the thought process?
It's actually a great way of putting it. We watched a video by Simon Sinek that's about people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I think that your example is perfect. We're about the learning and teaching, not about the curriculum and the instruction. And I think that that really led to a lot of our belief conversation, which then led us to that conversation. So I do believe that it's about the why. Why do we do what we do? It's about the learning and the teaching.
So back to the conversation I think we had last board meeting when Charles presented the student achievement, and the conversations were around. We understand that nationally and statewide, at millions of students, they're looking at how effective are we in education, for example, because everybody's talking about it. So they want to get some numbers, and so they put subgroups. And they label students, right, that we have to then measure. And instead, what we like to do is say, what do our students need? And based on that need, doesn't matter how the state or the national labels them, student can look any different way if they all need the same thing. So it's focused on truly where is that student in their learning, and what do they need to grow? I like that.
I think it's a great shift. Thank you. You're building a solid foundation.
Thank you.
Just advisory. Perfect.
Thank you for bringing it to us.
Next item is, we're pleased tonight to bring to you an overview of the York High School course proposals. We're not asking you to vote tonight. That'll be at the next meeting, but we wanted to give you an overview of the new course offerings. Chris Covino is in the audience, and Michelle has worked with Chris on this, but there's some great new courses. I have always been impressed with York leadership and Chris's leadership in looking at courses that will engage students. Again, going back to just the previous conversation, learning and teaching, you can have a great curriculum, but if you don't have courses that engage students, the best curriculum in the world is just going to sit on a shelf. And so this is about engaging some kids. And there's some exciting things in these course proposals this evening that you'll find. So with that, Chris?
Thank you very much, and yes, thank you for allowing me to represent the course teams and the leadership at York to talk a little bit about these proposals tonight. There are in total 18 proposals if you look at all the new and modified proposals that are in your board packet. It's probably good that you're not voting tonight because it's going to take a long time to read through all of them if you're reading every word, which I hope you do because there's been a lot of work that's gone into each one of these. I can address any questions you have about all 18 changes, but I was asked to specifically pull out a couple of changes that are kind of key and signal kind of a fundamental shift in a couple of our departments to speak to. So that's what I have planned to address, but certainly would be happy to address any of the courses that you see there in the packet this evening. The very first set of courses that you see are actually, I imagine tonight is the announcement of this formally and publicly, is that, and maybe Connie should be joining me for this since this was truly her endeavor from the onset, but it's a partnership with Indiana University to offer a new kind of dual credit program, one that's not been offered here in the state of Illinois yet. We would actually be the first school partnering with IU to bring a dual credit program that they've titled the Advanced College Project. And this Advanced College Project really pairs a series of courses for students, high school students, to be offered during their high school career that will give them, if they pass, college credit at Indiana University. So their transcript, their Indiana University transcript, would start prior to college even beginning for them. And one of the benefits of this, one of the great benefits, is that this type of transcript, a transcript from a well-established, highly respected four-year university, carries a lot of weight nationally, and can, most of the courses, from what we understand, though we're still looking into some university-specific ones, the transcript carries just about everywhere, meaning that if we fully adopt this type of program and fill it out, we're going to start smaller and then expand. Our students will have a wonderful opportunity to leave high school with a series of college courses in their back pocket. Literally, no, not literally, metaphorically, putting a foot in the college door for them. So we're very excited about that right now. One of the best parts about this is that while there is a fee associated with it, it is a very small fee and comparative to how much it would cost for an equivalent course at Indiana University. And while I don't have the Indiana University number in front of me, maybe Connie, you do, the cost for our students would be $50 per credit hour. So they would actually get a full Indiana University course for $150. Which I can imagine for those of you paying college tuition right now or in the recent past, it's quite a savings. So that's going to be a great opportunity for our kids. There are 4 specific classes we've worked through that we would be offering for the 2015-16 school year, and they are speech, composition, literature, and personal finance. These 4 courses represent courses that not only would offer the Indiana University credit, but are to some extent holes that we can fill pretty readily in our junior and senior year curricula. That is, these are places where we have not struggled, but have been looking for something to offer to students that is in addition to what they currently take. For instance, a personal finance course. We have an advanced business course, we have business management honors, but this personal finance course would be a nice pairing to a business management honors course, as that's only a partial year for most of our students, and this would sort of fill it out. So we're very, very happy that these 4 courses are available through Indiana University, and that we have begun to work on them. I should say that we are in the process of applying for adjunct professor positions, because that's what our teachers would be who teach these courses. At this time, we have not yet submitted the applications for the teachers, but are less than 24 to 48 hours away from doing that. We have to finalize the packets and then send them all to Indiana University. Once they review them and either accept or ask us to further add information to those packets, then those teachers would be invited to a summer workshop where they will be trained by Indiana University faculty so that everything that they do is up to Indiana University standards. One of the really nice parts about these 4 courses is that they shared with us the standards for each of the courses, as well as some of the assessments and some of the pure content. And as you can read in the packet that outlines all of that in detail, it's rigorous. And it's going to be a challenge for our kids, but it's going to be a challenge worth worth attempting. And I think that they're going to be successful because I think that we are committed to making it work, and the teachers who are applying are very excited about the prospect of it. And so are we. I don't know, should I take comments on each section or questions? I feel like this is kind of a big one.
Take some comments.
Okay.
So the first comments come to mind is, does this mean that there's new headcount and there's additional compensation? I mean, how does all this fit? I'm trying to get my arms around the financial piece.
It's relatively zero sum. In the case of personal finance, that might be of the 4 classes where we would see students taking a course outside of one they would have potentially already taken. For instance, we already have a speech class. Right now it runs 1 semester each year for the last 2 years, and 2 years before that it didn't run at all because there weren't enough students. But with the existing staff, we would hopefully run this course, the speech class. The composition and literature classes, we're assuming students that typically take another senior year English class would elect to take this instead. Therefore, it's a zero-sum change in the number of staff relatively in the English department, though I can't say with all certainty we wouldn't see a slight increase in business because of personal finance.
Yeah, I guess I'm still a little fuzzy around the adjunct professor.
Oh,
and
I'm
all
sorry.
that sort of-
They are our employees, and they maintain their current salary based on the teacher contract here in the district. And their expenses are paid when they go to Indiana University to get the training, right? And I believe there's a small honorarium they receive in the summer, but Indiana University is not paying them as professor. It is a title that they receive because they are doing the work of Indiana University while employed here.
Is this good?
It's
Is
on.
it good? Okay. There's a one-day in-service that they'll participate in every year, and we will need to pay the sub-costs for that in-service, but that's the only outside exposure we have.
You know, we talked about this in the curriculum committee, and it's very exciting because as we look at our key performance indicator of, we had AP participation rate, this is going to expand college exposure, you know, for students that maybe don't want to take an AP class, but it would be a very good opportunity for them, and we can expand that performance indicator to, you know, something broader than AP. You know, college, I don't know what we would call it. We're going to be working on that over the next couple of months. College, you know, coursework or preparation. And then you can get a lot more kids involved in this type of higher level work. So it's exciting.
I just want to ask the other side of that question. Aren't we duplicating and dividing resources? Because I look at AP English composition as a junior course and AP Lit as a senior course, and we have a advanced college project comp and an advanced college project literature course. And I'm just wondering, are we duplicating our resources in those instances? I mean, are we going to be drawing people away to make a choice? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, there is a chance that some of our students who elect to take AP Literature would be interested in either the composition or the literature or both ACP Comp and Lit courses. They are semester courses and can be taken independently of each other, right? They are senior options, so it's not going to affect the AP composition numbers, right? But you are right to say that there will be a small number of students, we believe, who will elect to take one of these two instead of AP Literature. And we should note that right now we have, I believe, 9 sections of AP Language, which equates to a very large number of juniors. That drops down to 5 sections of AP Literature the senior year. We regard that, or we believe, since the students tell us, and so do the parents, that once the students take the AP language test and get a 4 or 5 and believe that's the highest score they're going to need for any exemption from a college course, that they decide to take something else their senior year. So that's why the AP literature numbers drop so dramatically in that single year. What we also believe, though, is there are a number of students who take our senior electives, particularly an elective like world literature, because they want something they feel is going to be interesting and challenging, but they don't want to take the AP course. This provides an opportunity for those kids, and we're excited about that.
Pretty likely that you're going to get a lot of kids taking the 1 semester college credit as opposed to a whole year of AP to get college credit.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this is exciting. Thank you so much. I mean, you know, the first one in Illinois, and it's
all
pretty
Connie.
advanced.
We're pretty excited.
Yeah.
We're
She brought it to
Yeah,
us.
so, yeah.
She brought these great binders, too. Have you seen the binders? You should see the binders. Yeah. They're impressive alone. Yeah.
You should have one, don't you? You have one, I think.
All right, let me throw in a comment or two. First of all, I would characterize this announcement as probably the most exciting thing that I've experienced in my term as a school board member. So, Connie, a lot of thanks go to you. Thank you for your persistence, your vision, and just your out-and-out tenacity to get us into this program. And I think we can't emphasize enough that we are currently the only high school in the state of Illinois partnering with Indiana University. As I'm sure you know, I am a big proponent of AP classes for the sole reason that I think kids should get an idea of what college level rigor is like before they go off to college and take the equivalent of 5 AP classes their first semester in college. I think this is exciting because these are college classes for college credit with a college transcript. I think, Chris, you're absolutely right. It fills holes. I think your explanation was spot on about why the participation in AP English goes down so dramatically senior year. And this gives our kids another alternative. Now, you know, what's the unintended consequence? Maybe we fall off the AP honor roll because we have fewer kids taking AP classes and more kids taking actual college courses. And to that I say, I don't care. That's perfect. And I think I think we need to do a better job, frankly, of marketing this and announcing it to the community. So if we can put our heads together and put an announcement
Absolutely.
together.
That is the plan.
We kind of snuck it in here. I think this is a big, big, big deal, and I'm not going to stop talking about it for at least a year.
Yeah, we're meeting with Indiana University at the end of the month. They're here for a national convention for the Association of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships. And so I think after that would be the perfect time to engage in additional conversation.
Perfect. Thank you. I think this is very, very exciting for York and for our community. So thanks very much for all your work. Now you can move on.
All right. The next course I wanted to address is titled Enriched Advanced Algebra Trig Honors, which is a mouthful. It is the course that has been designed to follow 8th grade geometry, the class that the students in the REACH program at our 3 middle schools are currently taking. The Enriched Advanced Algebra Trig course should sound familiar to those who have had students at York because it's the title that we've used for the sophomore class for a long time. This course, while bearing the same title, will from next year on be a freshman course, and we will have to have a title change for the sophomore course because it really, a long time ago, was designed to be the course that follows geometry and is based on the Common Core standards related to Algebra 2, right, which follow the standards related to geometry in the sequence that the Common Core standards give us: algebra, geometry, algebra 2. So in addition to following those standards, it also mimics the course that we currently have, and which is why both Rebecca Keller, well, all three, Rebecca Keller, Sue Brown, and Dan Hall, the teacher who currently teaches the class, have worked very hard to remodel this course so that it is going to not only address all of the enriched pieces that currently exist in the course, but also addresses any algebra pieces that we identify along the way as being necessary to catch students up from where they may have stopped algebra in 7th grade. As we have heard loud and clear from the 8th grade teachers that when we've spoke to them about the geometry course they're currently teaching, that while things are actually getting better over the course of the last few weeks, that they have a lot to tell us about what the students can and can't do, and we're listening to what they're saying, and we're trying to figure out how to make this course, though its foundation is here in front of you, right, really fit for all of the students at the highest level of math coming to York High School. So while we will no longer have the enriched freshman geometry honors class, because it will not be necessary with geometry at the highest level being at the 8th grade, we will replace it with this, and then what you will see at a future date will be a replacement for the sophomore course. In fact, I'll probably be up here each year for the next 3 years telling you about everything we're replacing in math, because it's going to be about a 3-year sequence of replacements in order to accommodate the changes that we're now going through in the 8th grade year. Questions or comments are very welcome.
There is a meeting coming up to discuss with the 8th grade parents some of the things there, and obviously it's a related topic. It isn't specifically about what you're doing here, but it sounds like there's going to need to be just a lot of adjustments up and down in the articulation of the courses to make it happen.
It was, I thought we had a very good meeting last Friday with the REACH PTA. They invited Dave Beatty, the STEM coordinator, and me, and Rebecca Keller, and Michelle, and various others. I feel like we had a lot of people there to discuss the changes. While it wasn't, you're right, it was not just about this change. It was about our math curriculum in general, and how to best make it a solid curriculum all the way throughout, from the youngest years to the time they leave York. This is a significant change as of right now. And while it was part of that conversation, it's going to be a larger part of a conversation that we've invited them to next Tuesday night prior to our 8th grade placement night. So they've all been invited to a 6 o'clock meeting in the choir room at York High School to hear more about the actual sequence that students will be going through when they get to York, which is something that is in draft right now. But we feel like by then it'll be ready to give them a draft, because I think that the more information they have, the more comfortable they'll feel with what I hope they believe is transparency in this process.
I'm glad to hear there's so much responsiveness to their concerns. There's some deeply emotional parents on this issue. So.
Just one comment here. I think this is the beauty of a unit school district, is that you can make changes and you can follow those changes, and you can make amendments. I was going to say corrections, but I'm not sure that correction is the right word, but amendments as you go on. And that's something that if you don't have a unified school district, you can't do.
I have a question. So currently, or not currently, so let's go back a year. An 8th grader coming out of 8th grade math would place into enriched honors geometry, or geometry. Whereas our eighth graders are now moving from geometry to enriched advanced algebra trig honors. Is there a non-enriched version of this
Yes.
class that's offered?
Yes. Almost all of the sophomore courses that followed the freshman geometry courses have an equivalent freshman course now. This is the only one that we felt was going to be changed dramatically enough so that we would bring it as a new course.
So the current eighth graders could place into enriched advanced algebra trig honors or advanced algebra trig honors
Yes.
or something else. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Or Algebra 2 with modeling.
Okay.
Or if they really, really struggle with geometry, we will still have a regular geometry course, which will need to be available for the students not in reach geometry, who are who are in algebra their eighth grade year. So we will still have geometry at the freshman level, but not the highest levels of it, because those we've historically never had a student place into enriched that wasn't in the highest level of math in middle school.
Okay. Now, there are kids so there's 3 levels of math in middle school.
Yes.
And there are kids that place from that middle level of math into honors geometry.
Yes.
Will there still be an honors geometry class offered?
That is currently still the plan, yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
We're estimating, though, that that'll be a smaller number of sections than in the past.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
The REACH PTA meeting, who were the attendees for that? Was it eighth grade parents or high school parents? What was the group like? Do you?
We had parents that have students currently in REACH. We had about 32 parents. It was pretty evenly split, Bryan, Sandburg, Churchville. We had all 3 schools represented. We did have a few that have kids only at the high school level who've gone through a REACH program. And we had some that, but no, that was it. So we had all 3 schools represented, and they were mostly kids currently in the 8th grade geometry class. But we had some whose the kids had gone through it, and they were just there to speak to what their children had experienced.
We're hearing from the kids and parents that are currently going through the change, for eighth grade.
Right.
So that's
Yes.
good, okay.
Yes.
Onward.
Okay. The last course that I think is representative of a shift in our courses is one that we're currently proposing to call the Student Tech Internship. And this course was developed in response to the Mobile Learning Initiative and is a course that would offer students an internship, a truly hands-on experience working both with people and with technology. The course itself is modeled after a couple different courses from other district schools that have one-to-one environments, Maine East, but particularly Leiden. And it is a program that we visited, Kathy more than the rest of us. She seems to love to visit this program. It is exciting. I went and saw it. It's dynamic. The students who are involved in a course like this are truly a first line of tech support for the entire building. They are fixing and working on Chromebooks and other devices during the course. And in addition to that, when they're not working on these things, they are working independently on what are called pathways towards certification in tech areas like becoming Google certified or Microsoft Office certified or web design certified through A++, or what am I missing? Something like all of it. Was that? There are more, I'm sure. And computer programming in general. So it's the type of experience that students would, during which they would gain real-world career experiences while providing a service to the school that we can't currently envision. And so this course would really open up some new avenues in that regard. So we're very excited about potentially offering it next year.
Emily?
I too am excited to see that on there. I just want to say I went to Leiden and heard from some of the students at Leiden who had taken this course, and they stressed that they were really happy it was called a tech internship because they were able to put that on job applications. Some of them went to work for a Geek Squad and had put that on there. They got their certifications, all the pathways that you were talking about. And I think this will appeal to some of our other students, you know, kids who are going to go into the workforce right after they graduate, and they'll have tools, they'll have the certifications, they'll have experience to put on their resume. And also it'll be a help to us, like you said, the first line of defense when tech support in the building. So I'm very excited about this one. Thank you.
I just will say bravo with this one. I feel strong, very positive support. Not as much as Jim feels about Indiana University, of course. I don't feel anything that strong. But no, this is a great thing because it brings kids, it helps them own it. And I think it's going to put a wider net as to the kids that we reach. We try to reach all kids, and I think you're going to get a bunch of kids that you wouldn't capture in other ways with this, and I think this is a great thing. So, thank you.
I just have to point out a caveat to this one. There is some financial implications for this one that I think we need to discuss with the board at a future date when we get to January and budget. We're giving this to the board for prior approval as a placeholder to the class. But this class has much lower class size than other classes that we usually offer. And that has staffing implications, it has financial implications. So we're going to be back in the bigger picture of budget development for next year and have the discussion about where this class fits in with the rest of the budget priorities for the Board of Education. In fairness to the board, I think we have to be careful that we don't make decisions like this and then there's budget implications that we reveal to the board after the fact. I think we've done that in the past. I think it's not the way we should do this. We should be upfront with this and say, here is some options for budget. This is one of those decisions the board will ultimately have to make, but we want to make sure you have it with all the implications that it has. So just an explanation of that.
Is that in the review forms? I was,
Yes, it is.
where exactly was, on each?
I can
No, I
highlight
mean,
a few of
on
the.
each course proposal.
No, yeah, on each course it is in there.
It's
Yeah.
it's in the form somewhere.
Yeah. There is
I
a
guess I
section
didn't-
that highlights opportunities and challenges as fiscal as well as
Okay, it's in there.
human resources and other
Okay.
staffing needs.
All right.
For this course,
Thank
Mr. Pernod is right in that we would be requesting that the course would be smaller. And given the environment that it's not fully one-to-one at this point in time, the students would not be repairing as many devices as, say, in a building like Leiden High School that has 3,000 computers, all of which could be breaking on any given day or in need of repair. So there are a number of steps that we would look for your advice, your counsel on as we move forward with a course like this. And truly, we're only offering it as a placeholder because we feel with all of our courses that students typically, their interest drives their elective choices. And wanted to make sure that this was out there. There is also a cost noted in there potentially for the certification programs of each of the pathways. There are the other schools that do this offer to pay for some of them, some do not. Some have fundraisers for them that are interesting, but that would all be part of the future conversation if this course were to go through.
Chris?
And can we make sure, though, if we're going to talk about what it costs to put this in place, can we also talk about what we're going to save by putting this in place? I mean, Dave, we've talked about the technology department, we talked about resourcing and lack thereof. My understanding in talking about this a while ago, and it's just great that it's coming to fruition now, is that it also offers a set of resources that we otherwise would have to fill. And so. And I would encourage you to look at the financial impact over a multi-year period because there's going to be startup costs to getting the program going. But over the longer term, to the extent we're turning out folks that are also relieving the need to hire a bunch of people within Dave's group, I have to believe that that's going to balance, and we're going to have some numbers in the other column too. So let's make sure that we don't talk about just one aspect of that.
Karen?
I have three pieces, so I'll go bottom up because it's with the technology integration with Dave's group. So if we talk about it, not just the finances, but kind of, how it works big picture, not just with the course offerings for students and the York faculty that's required, but how is that really going to work in help desk? Is it just going to be Chromebooks? I don't think we have that many there at York. So that question leads into the second of my 3 points, which is, can we pilot something so that we can look at, not just full-blown offering, but let's see how this works. Let's see how it integrates with departments, not just students and courses. You see what I'm saying? And how does all that work? And can we really have it offloaded? And what are the nuances? And then I guess I'll do the third one because I kind of touched upon it already. You mentioned Chromebooks, but is it going to originally roll out just the Chromebooks and Google and computer programming and web, or is it going to be everything? You know what I mean? There's got to be some sequence about what's in the curriculum for these students to get trained and certified in being tech support, because that's pretty broad, being a comp sci person.
I'll attempt to address the first, I believe it's the first question about the coverage that the students would provide. Well, first of all, to Chris's point, I've heard from the other schools too that there is some startup cost to getting this going, and some of that is the load, so to speak, on the technology support team to even help the students with procedures and tools. And there's a summer boot camp that the students would go through that my team would have to be part of to help show them about the ticketing system and how we repair things and so on. So there is definitely going to be a hit on the team to start with. I envision, and I think this was up for discussion as the course concept is developed further, I feel that if they're really providing first line of support, they're going to get involved in more than simply Chromebooks. They'll be helping with AV media issues that we might have around the building. Laptops, we still have laptops in deployment, some basic repair of those. Also, I would like to see potentially having students repairing devices from around the district. So my team already has to take back laptops and desktops from other buildings, bring them back to York. That's where all the parts are, that's where all the tools are. And I could see students getting involved in repairs beyond just York High School. So I really think that I see it as broader than simply the Chromebooks in one-to-one. I see it as actually helping first line of support across the district, but with some definite effort to get it off the ground.
So I guess just wrapping it up, I would like to see more of a bigger picture how it all works. And kind of, not the details, but just, we're going to have to kind of segment it. How, you know what I mean? So we get a flavor of. You're looking at me like I have to add more. It's the rollout, or just what is going to be included. I guess I can't see this just being dropped in.
Sure. Yeah. If one of the nice pieces about the document that we use as a course overview now is it provides a sort of a skeleton for what the course looks like. And I know you said you didn't want too many details, but I think that section alone, which is titled, I think aptly, curriculum, unit scope and sequence curriculum, right? It highlights some of the pieces for the course, which are not just those pathways, but are about customer service, about learning digital citizenship. Some of the ISTE standards, the Illinois State Technology Educator Standards, and they highlight everything that a student should be able to do by the time they graduate from high school in areas of technology. We're incorporating a number of those into this course outside of those pathways. The pathways really are what the students are going to do after it's up and running, after they're fixing things, after they feel comfortable with the ticketing system, after they feel comfortable working with David Smith's team, after they feel comfortable with simple repairs like Chromebook screens, which we understand from other schools is the #1 repair that they have. Apparently, if you put a pencil inside one and close it, the screen is likely to crack. We did not know that going in, but that is some info that we've heard now. So you apparently have to be able to replace the screen. So we see this as being a complement, right, to the mobile learning initiative, because it's going to provide the foundation, the literal boxes and wires foundation of how the program can further get off the ground. In addition to that, while it's going on, the students will have the option to pursue their own pathways, to Emily's point earlier, so that they are Geek Squad ready, or, Google University ready. Is there a Google University? There should be. So we see it as part of the entire rollout, and starting small may be where we are, just given resources and some costs, but, small is doable.
When we talked about the mobile learning initiative last year, we decided to launch the mobile learning initiative 6 through 12. Yeah. So I don't want to forget about K through 5, where they're really on hold right now. So we need to balance this kind of expenditure with K through 5 mobile learning initiative, so we keep everybody as part of the program. We talked about that in the committee too.
When we discuss the financial portion of this, Chris is spot on. Let's keep the not only the costs but the benefits and the displaced costs of people that would have to be working on David Smith's team that these students will actually replace. And John, I want to say I have an equal enthusiasm for this class. It gives our students real world experience, real world credentials, and makes them more valuable to employers when they leave York High School. And I think this is an absolutely terrific initiative. So this is, so far, Mr. Covino, a very exciting night for new course announcements. And we'll let you continue. No, we won't let you continue. We got one more.
But as I read the description, though, I made the assumption, is it a correct assumption, that we already have the faculty that has the expertise to roll this out, in addition to Dave's staff, which is lean?
We, I guess I could say that the hiring of the 1.4 teachers this year to start that foundation of teachers being able to use technology in their classrooms was the beginning of staffing this type of to continue this type of rollout. We currently do not have staff members on staff that we've identified as being people who would do this necessarily, in addition to the duties they have currently. So we would, as Mr. Purnell pointed out, be looking to add staff to make sure that this could run properly, or to train staff that we currently have and then replace them.
But if I could maybe add a piece, from what I've seen in some districts, the teachers don't necessarily have to be, like for example at Leiden, they were business teachers, didn't necessarily have prior experience, and that's in the very specific pathway technologies, and the students were very self-driven on their learning, and the teachers were there facilitating and maybe helping them free up some log jams where they ran into some issues. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. I believe that at least the way we've seen it in some other districts, there could be a wide spectrum of teachers and skills that might be able to support a program like that, because part of it's supported by the technology department, and the rest is more helping students move forward, and they're doing a lot of individual learning.
Now we'll let you continue.
I would be happy to address any of the other courses if you'd like me to, or I can go through. No. Are there any other courses on the list you'd like me to specifically address? There are, to highlight them, there are a few from the physical education department to continue with their effort to offer choice to juniors and seniors that we started 2 years ago. There are a few from the science department too, as we expanded the graduation requirement last year to 3 years over we're adding a few other choices, one specifically for students in the special education program, because in the past there have only been 2 options for those students, and now we would need a third if those students were going to be able to graduate without repeating a course. One from the World Language Department in as we received information from the ELL audit that we would be adding in order to fill that program to capacity, the bilingual American government. And then the rest of them at the bottom of the sheet, the overview sheet, are just all about modifications, slightly changing the graduation requirements of 2 or prerequisites and or one would receive for taking the course, and then 4 that are simple name changes. The course remains exactly the same. We felt like the name change clarifies what happens in the course. And those are the ones at the very bottom.
Yeah, first I forgot to congratulate you on wearing your Duke Green shirt tonight. That's very appropriate. I just want to raise something, and I don't want to take something out of context, but there is a bigger issue out there that it kind of raises. Going to this course, excuse me, while my Chromebook freezes. Excuse me. I'm sorry, it just jumped. I think it's definitely the user. There we go. It is the PE Health Driver Ed Advanced Strength Training. And just not to take it out too much out of context here, but it says our department goal is to get athletes back in daily physical education. And the rationale behind it is to, it stimulates brain activity, increase concentration, remember information, multitask. And then it adds the following. This course will focus on the student's individual fitness needs and goals while utilizing time within the day to alleviate after-school practice time. And it just kind of brought up this whole race to nowhere. People have some views out there, and we're trying to integrate all views into our view. A lot of these athletes are spending 20, 25 hours a week in athletics. And there is some benefit in providing that athletic study hall to bring some sanity back into that. There's a real commitment when a varsity athlete is in their sport, in their season. I think all of us have seen our kids come home at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. And so when I read that the departmental goal is to get athletes back in PE, I'm just wondering, is there an overriding school administration view to make sure that we maintain some semblance of balance that avoids burnout by asking our kids to do too much? I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about that.
It's actually a topic that we've been discussing with our leadership team quite a bit lately, and I know that Ms. Smith, in conversation with some of her parent and student organizations, have also been discussing. It's risen to a level of importance because we find so many people who are telling us over and over again, we just don't have any more time to put something else into our schedule, though we feel pressure to all the time. The physical education department has been thinking about a course like this, not necessarily because they feel like more people, like there are too many people who are not in their classes, but because they feel like they're being asked to make a choice. I'm either going to be a varsity athlete or I'm going to be in PE. right? And what this course we hope does is bring some of what they do during their day, during the strength training for football or the, jump training for basketball or volleyball or something like that, and actually provides that during the school day so that it doesn't need to happen in practice in the afternoon. This course is being developed in conjunction with all of the head coaches. And what they would be doing is they would be developing workout programs for their varsity athletes, right, that can be used during this day. So it's called advanced strength training because a student would be they would have taken strength training, right, and then they would be in this course, hopefully alleviating some of that workout time that the head coach would require of their students in, let's say, an afternoon practice. Ideally, that would be how it would work.
So how do they schedule?
So will this then reduce practice time?
Ideally, that's how it was designed from the beginning. We know, though, I won't be naive about it. I know that there will be a coach or two or more, right, who will still want to practice just as long, right? And that will be something that we will have to address, right, knowing that we were putting this course into place, which I should add is not just for athletes. It's for anyone who would like a more personalized workout program, because that's really what it does. It's not just for athletes, it's actually for anyone who's finished strength training. But it is a course that is going to be designed in order for head coaches to have their athletes do the strength training and do the other types of training during the school day, during that period, so that it could potentially alleviate the time that they're practicing in the afternoon. Now, that aside, there's always going to be competitions on multiple days a week that are going to take that time away, because they're competitions. But yes, in an ideal scenario, and one that we could work towards as we implement it, it should reduce some of that time.
I'm grateful you're considering these issues because I think there's some people out there that are talking about them, thinking about them, and we want to make sure we consider everything when we're thinking about things. Thank you.
So to that point, though, Chris, how do they get all the students in the same class?
That's the beauty of it.
And they're forced to come in early? Is that the plan?
No, this would be during the school day course. And it would be a course that's offered that any person who is on a varsity team, or actually anybody, could take, right? And in the same way that they would sign up for any other course. But once they're in the course, and their head coach knows that they're in the course. Head coach doesn't even have to know necessarily. The head coach is working with the teachers of this course to develop the workout plans for all the students, and it would be very individualized, almost as differentiated as a PE class could ever get. Right, so there would be students on certain days of the week, if I'm understanding exactly what the PE department has explained to me, that are in the weight room Monday, Wednesday, Friday, each doing a specific type of workout conducive to their specific sport. And then Tuesday, Thursday doing other types of, cardiovascular exercise or, that's conducive to their specific sport. So the head coach of each program would create that workout, right? And the teacher would create a workout that went along with everyone else's for those that were not in those sports. So everyone would have something very individualized and specific to their training needs.
So I'm going to lump all the 3 PE classes, because I know that every year I think we have PE classes that come here to us for approval. And so correct me if I'm making an incorrect assumption again. My assumption is that we have 0 additional employee costs. And the students, what we're trying to do is just offer students flexibility on what type of physical education they would like. And we then divvy up our employees to account for those students. I don't know how you do that, but I think that's how we come into this, with the assumption. And so I just want to validate whether that's correct or incorrect.
Our staffing is always dictated by the students' choices. We, though, do not Advanced strength training will be populated by students who might otherwise have taken strength training or personal fitness. Advanced yoga and self-defense would be offered to anyone who has already taken yoga but didn't necessarily want to repeat beginning yoga, which is a very large number of our students at this point in time. Life-saving and lifeguarding is actually just a component change of the current life-saving and lifeguarding course to offer a greater certification to the students and to include a larger cardiovascular component in the current course. But like one of the other ones I mentioned, it was significant enough of a change that we felt like we needed to call it a new course. So we are anticipating that these 3 courses are offering students an advanced level of something they may have already taken, and the staffing would then be divvied up according to the same number of kids taking the same number of courses as they have in the past, just different courses.
To emphasize the point that John brought up, I'm encouraged to hear that there are ongoing discussions at every level of the administration of restoring some balance and, in some cases, sanity to our kids' busy, busy lives. And I'd love a periodic report on what we're doing to promote balance, to allow the kids, our students, the time they need to succeed, not only athletically but academically as well. So anything we can do to promote, and I'll leave it to you as to how we go about that. But I'd love some emphasis and to hear periodically how we're doing in that regard. So thank you very much. More? You want to?
Only if you have questions.
I think we're good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is a decision or a discussion this evening about the Board of Education taking a desire to have a joint resolution on Senate Bill 16. And we have included this evening 2 resolutions that were passed in other districts, or at least drafts of those resolutions. So tonight, I think the discussion is, does the Board of Education want to go in the direction of passing a resolution? And if so, which of these 2 models might be something that we can work on to bring back to the next board meeting for a vote for the passage of a resolution, if that's the direction the board desires to go in.
Any discussion? Shannon, go ahead.
I'm not sure what the resolution accomplishes. I think we should have a discussion about next steps, like what steps the board wants to take. But I think discussion is what I wrote back when this came up for the agenda. But I'm kind of on the fence for a resolution. So I'd like to hear from other board members and what they think.
I throw in one caution of a resolution, and I personally have no problem with the resolution, but I think everybody needs to be aware. You vote yes on a resolution, and I'll give you, for instance, in a Illinois House race that just happened. One of the candidates was on a school board, voted yes on a resolution opposing unfunded mandates, which was the intent, seems perfectly reasonable. Years later, his opponent for the House pulls out that yes vote on that resolution opposing unfunded mandates and construed that yes vote to say that candidate was opposed to everything from EpiPens to every unfunded mandate that helps students. And extrapolated that one vote into all that, and plastered that candidate with that kind of rhetoric. So for anybody here with any other political ambitions besides the school board, just a little advice. So, yeah, I think we're all good. So, but to Shannon's point then, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I think a letter writing campaign from our community does more than a school board passing a resolution. Personally, I'm good either way. I'm happy to vote for a resolution. I'm happy to get as much attention focused on this as need be. And I will, you know, the perspective of the sponsor of this bill is this is the right thing to do for students in Illinois. You know, just when you're a Collier County school district and you're losing millions of dollars of the very little state funding that's apportioned to us, it seems like this bill isn't going in the right direction.
I think what we do in passing a resolution is just simply talk about the substance of what's being done, and I think that's the real important merit. So if we're going to do something, make it short, make it general, and I think there's a lot of very detailed information in these resolutions that I don't think is very helpful, but I definitely would want to see us, as we have now, have an agenda item, so we're talking about it. How does that turn into how many people are watching on the coverage online or streaming video? Do we have, you know, local media that will pick up these discussion and the things we say? That's going to be the real persuasive thing. So it's not the resolution itself. And as far as twisting things, that seems to be inherent in our political process right now. So I'm not concerned, and probably the remedy is to simply state it very generally on a couple of principles we believe in and leave it at that. But it's not the vote, it's the discussion.
Yeah, I think that's very wise. You know, in addition to that, I think our PTA council is doing a great job getting the word out, getting people to understand the impact it has on our community and on our students. And I think that is the grassroots kind of effort that an issue like this needs. But I think John, I mean, everybody agree with John's statement of keep it broad. Chris, go ahead.
So I'm going to steal your note from earlier tonight and point out that the fact that the two gubernatorial candidates did not bother to show up for a meeting with all of the superintendents in the state of Illinois makes this somewhat irrelevant as to whether we pass. We could threaten to hold our breath, but I don't think that's getting anywhere. I think trying to get as many constituents as possible to pick up the phone and to write letters is the most useful thing that we could do, rather than debate wording on a resolution that comes out that goes in. I mean, we haven't done our job by just passing a resolution and setting it somewhere and saying, oh, we're done. I think we're better off using our time trying to get folks to advocate. So that's my 2 cents.
Emily, go ahead.
Well, and I wanted to highlight what we, as a district, have already done. From what I heard, other districts I talked to, we were one of the first ones to send out an email to all of our parents, all of our community, you know, kind of educating them about the bill. And I think that does a lot more than just passing a resolution, like Chris said, that just kind of sits there. So anyway, just want to highlight that.
Perhaps our resolutions should urge our PTAs to inform their membership of the nature of the bill and what it does, and ask them to get involved.
But to address that, I really wanted to thank Malia and our PTA council, and who has a legislative chair who's gotten very active in the council with our administration, with me being the LEND representative, as well as the school PTAs. So I really would like, on behalf of us and the board, to thank the PTA and thank Malia for getting that initial conversation going to make the public aware that we will be a big loser in this, and it's our students that will be. And the whole purpose is supposed to have, equity in student funding, and it's not going to be equity in student funding. So, I want everyone to know that our PTA council is working on it.
Karen, to that point, we just submitted another article to the Daily Herald today that was written by Carol Snyder, which will appear, not the Daily Herald, I'm sorry, the Suburban Life, Shaw Media, which will appear next week. So it's an update. She entitled it School Funding Shell Game. So, yeah, I think it'll be another good step in the process.
I think that is frankly far more effective than us passing a resolution that gets filed away. I don't know, Dave, do you have strong
Yeah,
feelings either way?
My only reservation is we are mobilizing a lot of people to oppose Senate Bill 16 in its present form. I worry a little bit that if the board doesn't take some kind of official stand, then you're kind of, it could come back to say, well, you're asking everybody else to take a stand and you're not willing to take a stand as a board. So maybe it's an option to do a really brief resolution to just say, with Senate Bill 7 in its present form, the Board of Education of Elmhurst opposes the implementation of this present legislation or something like that, and keep it there. I do worry a little bit about the message that somebody may come back and criticize and say, well, the board didn't take a stand on it, so how serious are they?
Yeah, I think that's wise. That's a very good point. So ask the administration to put together something brief.
Really brief.
Bring it back next meeting. Okay. Circulate it to us beforehand for comment. That'd be great. Thank you. Okay. Next on our agenda is board committee reports. The Curriculum and Instruction Committee. Shannon.
Margaret, did you want to give the update since you wrote the meeting minutes, or it's up to you? I'm either way. Okay, good. I forgot to ask you that, but earlier. Okay. Okay, so we had public comments about the geometry class in 8th grade. And those issues are being resolved with 2 forums, last week's forum with the REACH PTA, and then next week, that's at York. I don't know the exact date and time. Is that Tuesday?
It's Tuesday, the 21st, 6 p.m. in the chorus room.
Okay. So I guess I'll ask the question now, are there board members that would like to attend? Is anyone going to plan on attending that? Jim, okay. Anyone else? Okay. You can be our representative. Thank you. Okay. We were introduced to our instructional technology coordinators. That's, what is that, 4.4 people? It's a York teacher that is working 0.4, 0.4 is the instructional technology coach, and then 0.6 in the classroom. So they came and introduced themselves and talked about the work that they're doing in the classroom, and it's very exciting. Like maybe we should have them come to a board meeting at some point. Okay.
Yeah, we will be bringing them forward with some update on the whole mobile learning initiative to the big board.
Okay, we talked about the mobile learning initiative. Did you want to give a quick update on our discussion?
Right. What we talked about was the evaluation of the implementation of the program. Because it's the first year of a program, you really need to be evaluating the implementation of the program. So we'll be collecting data 3 different ways. We'll be getting student and staff surveys. We will be doing, our ITCs will be doing a time study 3 times a year for 2 weeks where they write down every 15 minutes what it is they're doing. And a final one will be focus groups at the end of the year where we can go a little bit deeper with really trying to understand how the mobile learning initiative has rolled out for teachers and staff, and anything that we would need to improve on next year. This information will also be used when we go to roll out for K-5, when we'd be looking at K-5 and what we'd want to do at the K-5 level.
In early 2015, we'd be hearing a preliminary report on results.
Early 2015, we should have the first round of survey data back. We'd have the second round of survey in February, so we can bring some back, and we will definitely be bringing our ITCs and an update on how it's been implementing, probably in, I think we said December or January, to the full board with some video so you can really see it in action is really important for the board to see. So we'll be bringing that forward to the board.
Okay, we talked about the York course proposals. We don't need to review that. And updates, really not too much here. We talked about the name change for curriculum, so thanks for talking about that.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Performance Management Committee. Karen.
So an update on the last Performance Management Committee meeting, and we've got another one coming up October 30th. 3 topics. First is the DPIs. And just FYI that the DPIs are linked again this year with goal setting, working towards continuous improvement throughout the district, and that the DPIs will have to be reviewed based on park assessments, more than likely. So that'll be working, with the administration and the cabinet. Dave will be working on that and then bringing it to the board with any impacts to our DPIs. Secondly, we talked about the Harris survey per the board request to have the Performance Management Committee provide or put together something for progress updates for us to use as we go out to all the schools this year with the school liaison program so that we can update the employees on progress made to date. So you saw also attached a separate document, which is just very brief with bullets on the main concerns, I would say, or topics that employees address to us and progress made to date. The second piece that the board had charged the Performance Management Committee in doing is more specific so we all have talking points, the same message, if you will, to share across the district is our focus and direction. And so we still have work to do on that. Dave was going to bring it back to his cabinet. And so we'll look at that on October 30th. Okay. Yep, go ahead. Sorry.
I went ahead and scheduled Emerson Brown Bag for tomorrow, so
No.
I won't have that item, but
No, you
this
will, this
item-
document, yeah.
This item should be brought to them. It's the second item that that I won't
Correct.
have.
Yep.
So do you feel this is a good thing to bring and discuss with them?
Yes, we do, but that's the recommendation of the Performance Management Committee, so we can discuss it.
Okay.
So let me clarify. What we did was, we took the first shot. We know that we can't address everything all at one time, so we just said, what have we made progress on from when we met with the employees last year and to date? And so that's what this short little bullet is on the items that we've made progress or completed already. The one that we hadn't was a bigger picture, what's our, focus direction sort of thing. But we are moving forward with the mobile learning initiative and the informational technology coaches. And so that's key, and that's in this short little document that we can begin to communicate and, start the conversations. Now, the last Curriculum Instruction Committee meeting, Michelle, I think, the staff put together a brief, I think, 7-slide mobile learning initiative. That was really good. I know Shannon got me in touch with that. So we have a little bit of talking points so that we're consistent with, what's going on, what the administration's saying, because that's what we wanted to do, is make sure that we're all, saying the same things. But beyond that, This summer, Dave had presented to us a 3-year strategic plan, or, the first rough draft that he's working with the cabinet and employees with, and then the organizational performance framework. Those two specific things, we need to do more work. We need more time. That's to be more clear. Sorry, John. Yeah. Yes.
So we should go ahead and schedule the brown bag lunches, though? I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
we
think
decided
so.
one board member at each one, correct?
I thought that's what we talked about in the summer. I'm still okay with that. Pardon?
Use your discretion if you want two. I mean, people are willing to do it, that works too, but there's no requirement for two.
The next topic Dave provided a status to us on the compensation study, basically that the job descriptions and something else, and I'm drawing a blank, Dave, I didn't put in the notes, job descriptions were completed. And they're working with the focus groups with employees, and that project is moving forward. There's a para update that we're going to have building-wide student growth component that actually we set the stage, I think, again, being the first district in the state recommending employees all proposing and the district agreeing to having a building-wide student growth component. Is that true?
Just a caveat, it's a proposal between the joint administration and teacher committee that is working up here. That has not been adopted yet by the staff. So we still need to go back to staff this year and finalize that decision-making. But that was the proposal we rolled out to Elmhurst staff, teaching staff this past year.
Sorry, I didn't realize it wasn't official, but I thought because there was last year we had heard so much good feedback on it. So yes, great, thanks for the clarification. And then lastly, we were tasked with looking at the superintendent evaluation tools. So we were looking at it long-term as well as short-term. And Dave was going to look at the initial recommendation of the evaluation form that we use now. That's quite lengthy, and so that can we combine some duplicative questions. So that's really what we addressed. Any questions?
Okay, hearing none, then let's move on to the superintendent's agenda, the consent agenda. There are 3 items on it. A is the ratification of approval of application for recognition of public schools for 2014-15, something the state of Illinois requires us to do every year. Item B, the approval to purchase equipment and software and professional services to upgrade our Power School system, something the state of Illinois is requiring us to do. And C, the approval to sell a surplus driver's ed vehicle, which is 14 years old. So, does anyone want to remove any of those items for discussion? Hearing nothing there, then I need a motion, please. Emily?
I move that we approve the superintendent's consent agenda items A, B, and C.
I hear a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Moved by Emily, seconded by Shannon. Mrs. Walsh, because thank you.
Mrs. Bastido?
Yes.
Mrs. Ebner?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Mrs. Stufen?
Yes.
Dr. Harrell?
Yes.
Mr. Bloom?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes, 7 ayes, no nays, that superintendent's consent agenda passes. And then we've separated action items on the superintendent's agenda so we can properly thank the Jackson Elementary School for donating $2,000 of landscaping to their school to repair some shrubs that didn't make it through the brutal winter we had last winter. And then the Edison Elementary School PTA for donating a sound system to Edison School. So unfortunately, we need to take these one at a time. That is the downside to separating them out. John?
I move that the Board of Education approve the donation from the Jackson School PTA in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for landscaping. This donation is accepted in accordance with policy number 8:80, gifts to the district.
Emily, second? All right, so moved by John, seconded by Emily. Donation, do we need to? We don't. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. And then item B, please. Emily.
I move that the Board of Education approve the donation from the Edison School PTA in the amount of $3,700 for sound equipment. This donation is accepted in accordance with policy 880, gifts to the district.
A second? Thank you. Moved by Emily, seconded by Karen. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that motion passes as well. A review of upcoming meetings, Monday, October 27th, Committee of the Whole Finance and Operations meeting at 6:30 in this room. Tuesday, October 28th, regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting at 7:30 in this room. And then finally, Thursday, October 30th, Performance Management Committee meeting at 7 o'clock in this room. Next is Board Communications. Karen?
I'm just going to provide a brief update of the District 200 sponsored SB 16 Impact Forum, and there were quite a few districts that were there. Carol Snyder from our PTA council was there, but I just thought it was important for you all to know, it was pretty unanimous that the school districts were talking about 4 things that they wanted to see around SB 16. One is accountability. There's no accountability. You know that, especially this board, when we came on really tasked the administration on not only looking at student performance, but looking at performance of every department and the operational efficiency. And that is not mandated for all the school districts. It's not in SB 16. There's no funding that's tied to any accountability to any of the school districts that are not performing as well as some of these districts like ours that are getting huge proposed funding cuts. Mandate relief. One big one for us would be Park would be duplicate to what we're doing in measuring not only our students' progress and growth, but our operational efficiency. And really looking at the inequity of like students from one area of the state to another, for example. So we're going to look at a same student in our district or out of our district, and there'll be more inequity. And if you want me to clarify, I can clarify and give you examples, but would you like me? Okay, so for example, a free and reduced lunch student. With this SB 16, the student in our district, you could say is not as important to the state if they lived here versus another district. So it creates more inequity than it solves, and this bill was supposed to solve the inequity to make sure that all students got educated equally. Those were the 3 major hitters.
Any questions or discussion on that? Any other topics that we want to bring up?
I'd like to stress again that we're a Board of Education, not a Board of Stormwater. But unfortunately, we've been asked to cooperate and participate. I know Finance Committee meet as Committee of the Whole. Is that it? Next week? So I'll let you talk about that. Or 2 weeks, I'm sorry. But there is a stormwater meeting at the city. I'm just wondering if anyone has an objection as a member of the Stormwater Committee, if I went, listened, took notes. It's their meeting, it's their presentation. It's not my intention to comment. unless there is a correction of a board position that needs to be made. But it's their meeting and their interaction with the public, and I feel a need to go there. And I'm just wondering, does anyone want to
I
join?
personally think that would be helpful.
Jim? Jim? The other thing, I did mention the brown bag at Emerson. I guess I'd just like to know, would anybody on very short notice like to go tomorrow? Sure. It's great school community.
I'd like to go, I won't be able
It's a
to.
great school community. And it's mine now. So, yeah, okay, all right, good enough.
All right. Anything else?
If I may, you have, the perks never stop as a board member. And tonight you have a gift that has been given to you in the form of a book. It's called Embedded Formative Assessment. I know it's a hot topic that board is just lovely dive into. We're bringing it to you. Michelle in the curriculum department has arranged for Dylan Willem, the author of this book, to speak to staff in January at the Institute Day. And we wanted you to be aware of some of the issues. This is a book study that we are currently doing as an administrative team. So all our administrators in the district are working through this book right now and having crucial conversation about some of the implications of formative assessment, again, with the emphasis on classroom practice and what goes on with teaching and learning. I know board members strap for time, but I would encourage you, at the very least, if you have a chance, to read the first chapter. I think it's a good overview of what has occurred over time in educational research related to what really makes a difference in student achievement. And it really goes through a lot of the process that we have gone through over the last 20 and 30 years in education about what makes a difference for kids. And I think it's a good framework to understand what is important and what maybe not as important as we thought it was. So if nothing else, if you could get the time to read chapter 1, it would probably generate a lot of other discussion with the Board of Education. Some of the formative assessment things are, might be a little distant, but I think chapter 1 is relevant to boards of education. So, and you are invited to the Institute Day. If you want to hear Dylan Willem and he interests you after reading parts of the book, you are certainly welcome, and you can just contact Michelle's office to find out times and dates.
Yeah, the date is February 27th.
Oh, February.
Just so you know, it'll be a great day. We'll have about 170 staff members there. So we have a table for you. But we'd love to have you there.
Anything else? Well, we've reached that point in our agenda where there's nothing left, so this meeting is adjourned.